So this is an important class. I'm going to try and clarify where are we coming from, what we learned until now. We're going to speak in English, but we're going to use those incredible words that Hashem has given us in His teachings. And if anybody needs to know the meaning of what I'm saying, so of course I will stop. And explain to the best of my ability. I'll give you these to start with. So the last few weeks, we spoke about the tzimtzum. So what does the word tzimtzum mean? How do we understand the tzimtzum? Hashem wanted to make a world where He will be here, He is everywhere, and yet He is hidden, He is invisible. And then when we discover that He's been here the whole time, this is a great joy that He will give us. He wanted to make a world where He is hidden, and at the same time that He is absolutely here. Only Hashem can do such a thing, and He did it with perfection. He made a world where He's totally hidden. Nobody knows about Him. Most of the world, most of the Jewish people, most everybody, even those of us who know about Hashem, He's still very hidden from us. So it's our job to constantly want to look more and to search more and to know more. Where do we see Hashem? We see Hashem in the events of our lives. We see Hashem in the events of history. We see Hashem in the Torah, where the Torah teaches us through stories, through all kinds of things. We see Hashem in the wisdom that He teaches us, and the incredible greatness of the tzaddikim who taught us their Torah, the Baal Shem Tovs and the Ari and the Moshe Rabbeinu and the Rishon Bar Yochai. These are Avraham Avinu and Sarah and Yosef HaTzadik. Every single one of it is an amazing revelation of Hashem. There couldn't be such a thing if there wasn't a God behind it all. We also learn to really recognize Hashem in our lives, inside, until we can be so quiet and so clear, and to know that our very existence is really only Hashem. So Hashem gives us many, many different ways. One of the reasons we say 100 brachot. Baruch atah Hashem, Yotzer HaMeorot. Baruch Hashem, Pochech Ivrim. Baruch atah Hashem, Magen Abraham. Whatever you say, the 100 brachot are all just different ways of Hashem saying, I'm here I am, I'm here also, this is me, I'm behind everything that you know, everything that you see. A bracha is for the purpose of connecting to Hashem, who is behind all things. As we get closer to Purim, we'll talk about Megillat Esther. What is Megillah from the verb? What is the word behind the word Megillah? What does Megillah come from? I mean, one reason is it's something you golel, you roll up and you unroll. Golel. But really the word Megillah is so clearly a word that speaks about ligalot, to reveal. Gilui, right? And what does Esther mean? What's the root of the word Esther? Seter, Hester, hiddenness. So what's Megillat Esther mean, besides that it refers to the story of Queen Esther? What does Megillat Esther mean? The revealing of the hiddenness, right? So it's exactly the same thing, that Megillat Esther does not have one mention of Hashem's name, any explicit mention of Yud Ke Vav Ke. His name does not appear in the Megillah, right? And yet his whole presence is behind everything that happened. So it's really it's a perfect drama in which it shows us how our lives are, and the deep teaching of the Tzimtzum. Tzimtzum itself means tzam tzam. So tzam means to fast, to not eat. But what happens when you fast is you become constricted. Is your stomach becomes smaller. So tzimtzum is the self-constriction of Hashem to hide himself. It occurred to me many years ago, maybe, when I was first Chozav Tshuva, that they had all these stories of the Arabian Nights in which they said, open sesame. And sesame in Arabic is sumsum. And of course in Hebrew. In which case we're saying, open simsum. The simsum closes us off and doesn't reveal to Hashem to us. When we say, open sesame, open simsum. Maybe. No, I don't know. I don't know what if I'm completely making this up. But open, Hashem, open up the tzimtzum. Allow us to know that you're here. Legalot et hester, to reveal the hiddenness. So many of the stories of the Zohar and the Baal Shem Tov of Rabbi Nachman about how Hashem is hiding in our lives. So the challenge that Hashem put for himself is to make a world where he will be hidden, and yet that we will be able to reveal him. So he did this in many stages. He made many worlds. What do they mean when they say many worlds? In Hebrew, it's called Olamot Ein Sof, which has three translations. Olamot Ein Sof. What would you say that means? What does it mean, Olamot Ein Sof? What's the words mean? You must speak when I ask a question.
Wouldn't it be literally translated as its worlds or existences without limits? That'd be a very simplistic literal translation.
Yeah, but I'm looking for also that. Olamot Ein Sof are endless worlds. Either that there are many endless worlds, or that each one of them is endless, okay? Or that they're Olamot Ein Sof, that the worlds of the Ein Sof, the worlds, and there could be endless worlds, but they belong to, and they are the creation of the Ein Sof, which is the one without end. And a world, by definition, has boundaries. At one point in the creation process, there's a world that is called Adam Kadmon. It's a very mysterious phrase to use about something where there's no such thing as a human being yet. Why is it called Adam? So what you have in front of you is selections from chapter 12 of Inner Space. First of all, even in chapter 2, he already speaks about Adam Kadmon. And I wonder how to do this to really get the richness of this. So he starts off on the pages that you have here. He starts off in chapter 3. We describe 3 aspects of Adam Kadmon. Yeah, it's chapter 3. The highest aspect of Adam Kadmon involves the profound concept of God's will, as the shorish in Ein Sof for the totality of creation. Talk our language, Rabbi. It's amazing. Rabbi Kaplan was able to bring things down. But he had a very difficult job when talking about Adam Kadmon. So he gave us 3 definitions, and I can share them with you. I didn't bring them here. I just brought a few other things about it. But let me try and get my wits about me. That one of the reasons it's called Adam Kadmon is, for instance, that there's something called Adam de Atzilut, Adam de Bria, Adam de Yitzira, Adam de Asiyah. So it's interesting that they use the word Adam to describe the Olam HaAtzilut, Olam HaBria, Olam HaYitzira, Olam HaAsiyah. They're called both Adam and they're called Olam. So Kabbalistically, we use that word, he uses it a lot. And that's when we think according to this deeper system of thought. So why is something called an olam? Because it's a full, complete structure with many pieces, many parts. This side. Come. And so is an Adam. An Adam is a complete structure. And each one sheds light on the other. So if we call something for instance, they say that man is called an Olam Katan, and the world is called Adam Gadol. The world is called a great man, and human beings are called Olam Katan, a small world. So we see that the way that the words are being used, the word is being used as a system. A complete system is called an Adam, and a complete system is called an Olam. So when we say Adam Kadmon, it's the system that Hashem chose at a certain point in the creation process of one of the Olamot Ein Sof, of one of the worlds that Hashem made, where each world was going to be lower and more hiding of his infinite light. Because you might say he could do anything he wants, and he could do it in one shot. He could make everything in one shot. But there's a reason why Hashem did not do everything just like that. He does things in stages. Here's a world with a lot of light. Here's a world with less light. And how he does from world to world is so interesting. But then there's less light and less light and less light. And still, even this one, which is still so far away, is still much more than the sun. It's more than anything we can imagine. So Hashem his light and his energy is so powerful. He chooses to come down in what's called in English a step down fashion towards us in many stages. And that's what's called Olamot Ein Sof. We just don't know how many there are, but there are many stages. And at one point, as part of the Olamot Ein Sof, it's called Adam Kadmon. It's still very high. And it's called Adam not because it is a man, but because it is a complete, total, unified system, which is going to be, as the Ramchal says in one place, if I brought it here, no, I didn't bring it here. It'll take me a second to give you the bigger picture, is that once we get to Adam Kadmon, which it's permitted for us to see it in the form of a body, although we know when we're doing that, there's no body. Right? But in the system of the Ari, we speak about the eyes of Adam Kadmon, and the ears of Adam Kadmon, the nose of Adam Kadmon, and the mouth of Adam Kadmon. Oh my goodness! Like, why does Judaism allow you to do this? Right? Because we know that there are borrowed terms, and once we know that, then we know that we're not doing anything wrong. We're just using something which is something familiar enough to us to give us an idea of something that we know is beyond. It's very, very what the Ari calls l'saber ta'ozen, to give the ear the ability to hear. But then at the same time, we know, just like in the concept of mashal and nimshal, when we use a mashal about a king who sent his son away, and after many years, he had to send all of his ministers, and one minister finally gets to the son of the king and reminds him that he's the son of the king, and he helps the son of the king come back. He's so far away from his Abba that even when he sees the king, he doesn't even know it's his father until the king reveals to him, "You are my son." And he has this incredible experience. So this is a mashal, right? It's about us. So the mashal is about a king and about a son of a king, and we get so involved in the mashal, but we know that the mashal tells us something, what in Hebrew is called the nimshal, the meaning behind the mashal. So something here also, that the Kabbalah allows us to speak in metaphor, and at the same time know that behind the metaphor is something profound that we can begin to know in our soul. So in that way, it gives us a way of speaking, which is very different than any other system on the planet Earth. It's not their, it's different. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's very different, and it's a very clean system. So when we speak about the light that comes out of the eyes of Adam Kadmon, the light that comes out of the ears of Adam Kadmon, the light that comes out of the nose, the light that comes out of the mouth, and the light that finally comes out of the mouth of Adam Kadmon goes down underneath the beard of Adam Kadmon, my goodness, right? And from the belly button down, we're just using these terms in order to be able to speak about things that are beyond. From the belly button of Adam Kadmon down, there's a world called Atzilut. And from the belly button of Atzilut is a world called Bria. And from the belly button of Bria is the world of of Yetzirah, and from the belly button of Yetzirah is Asiya. So you have once on Purim, I was in the old city with my family, and then we had a friend there who had stilts. So he got up on his stilts, long legs. I stood in front of him. My wife stood in front of me. My oldest son, my second son, my daughter, my third son, and fourth son, and we did this thing with this beautiful picture. For me, it was like totally symbolic of this idea that every world, every lower world is sometimes described as from the neck down, sometimes described from the chest down, and sometimes described from the belly button down. The point being that the highest world, the one that's behind all of them, his feet go all the way down to the ground. All of them, their feet go on the ground. So if I would just get this over to you, I can do this. Yeah, that that behind the top figure, right? Behind the top figure here, his body goes all the way down, and the one in front of him is what's called malbish. He dresses up, and he covers from the neck down. He covers the one behind him, and then this one covers from the neck down and covers the neck down. The worlds are considered that the inner level is the highest, and its bottom extremity reaches all the way down to the bottom, and it's covered over by the one that's next, and then covered over by the neck that's with. So, so you have a system here where anywhere you are, and everywhere you are, the inner essence of reality is the same light of the infinite one that's dressed up to protect us, that a physical world can exist. So on Adam Kadmon is dressing up all the four lower worlds. Here's a more detailed. That this here is a whole structure that's covering over the one that's above it. And this here is another structure that's covering over the one that's... So the inner level of reality is always going to be the light of Ein Sof itself. Another one is this one, which I've shown you before. All right, the same idea is the highest one, only its lowest extremity goes in all the way down, and the next one covers over it. When we're standing down here, all we see is the outside, the most external. One example that I used to give is when you see the difference between a baby eating, and there's more chairs here. It's a baby eating and a tzaddik eating. You see that the tzaddik has thought and intention in the physical act that he or she is doing. The physical covers over, but the physical by the tzaddik becomes so transparent that the spiritual shines through, right? The higher level of the soul shines through. Whereas a child, let's not even use the example of a child. Let's use the example of a person who's not spiritual. So their eating, relative to the eating of the tzaddik, is said to be completely physical and gross. The eating is just for eating's sake. Whereas the tzaddik has thought and intention behind the eating. So that shines out. The skin, the facial features of the tzaddik and his wife are softer. They are baby-like. They reveal something beyond the physical. The Ramchal says in Derech Hashem that it can't be too revealed. If you would really see how beautiful the tzaddik is, then there would be no free will in this world. So Hashem cannot allow the full revelation of the power of the righteous deeds that a person does to be revealed, not for me and not for you and not for any of us. But so there's only up to a certain point. But with some of them, some Yerushalmim tzaddikim,
certain people could be zeichet.
huh?
Certain people could be zeichet. They have certain neshamas.
Right.
Most people not. But,
Most people not, right. So you can see a couple, Yerushalmi couple who's 90 years old or whatever, and you go into their house and they give you a cup of tea and you sit there with them and you realize that you're really with somebody who's from another world. That's what used to be when I first came to Yerushalayim in the 70s. Tafshin Lamed Vav, Tafshin Lamed Dalet even. 1974. Wow. There were people walking around who could invite you to their house, and you could sit with them, and you knew you were sitting with somebody from another dimension because they were so pure. Anyway, God bless us all that we can meet people like that still. Okay, so this is a difficult issue to deal with, that we're talking about something very high, and it's called Adam Kadmon. So Rabbi Kaplan explains one of the reasons why it's called Adam in chapter 3. Let me just read it to you. You don't have it. And you have plenty here to read, and yet I feel that I missed on one thing. Is the third reason he gives for why it's called Adam. Adam Kadmon alludes to the ultimate purpose of creation. The term itself is an anthropomorphism, meaning literally primordial man. The Kabbalists explain this when they tell us that the very first thought, the very first ingredient in creation was the thought of Adam, of humanity. Though man was last in the external order of creation, the thought of man precedes creation. He is the original purpose and intention for which the entire building was constructed. The thought of man is therefore called kadmon, primordial. The first manifestation of God's purpose is thus called Adam Kadmon, the primordial will that preceded all creation and hints to its ultimate goal. It was very beautiful what he said. Can you hear it? The word tachlit, purpose in Hebrew, is the key. Tachlit. What's the tachlis, right? So if you ever notice that the word tachlit is spelled like this. It's spelled taf at the beginning and taf at the end, and in the middle is the word kli. A kli is an emsa'i, is a means, a medium to bring to something to fulfillment. In this case, the taf. What's taf represent? The last letter of the Aleph Bet. We need to say the end point. It should be really achlit, if you want to say aleph at the beginning. Then the kli is the means to bring aleph to taf. Why is taf at the beginning also and not just at the end? Why is the word tachlit constructed the way it is? And also kli could be kohanim, leviim, Israelim. Tachlit and techelet are very connected.
It shows like a cycle, like if it was aleph to taf, which is the beginning and the end, the fact that it's the taf, which represents like cycles and continuity, and the end of the taf, keeps going, it's like going to keep going, it's not linear.
Okay, that's very nice. But one thing also is that the end is included in the beginning. The Sefer Yitzir says, Sofo na'utz b'tchilato, its end is wedged in its beginning. In other words, in the potential, in my thought, when I want to make a house, I have to have the desire to make the house and the thought of the house and what the purpose of the house is, and then I break up the activities in order to do what needs to be done to make the house. And when I go into the house and I see all the rooms and I see this and I see that, I said, this is exactly what I thought of when I first thought of the house. This house fulfills the purpose for which I created it, right? I make a Xerox machine. I make a computer. The computer is to fulfill a certain function that was already thought of, but I didn't know how to do it. So I had to break it up into all kinds of processes in order to get to something that would do what I wanted it to do. But the want comes first. And it's also called, in Lecha Dodi, it's called Sof Maaseh, B'machshava Tchila, which is that the end deed is in the first thought. There's a whole Zohar, and also in Kulam B'chochma Asita, that there's a double meaning of the verse, that you made them all with wisdom, is that when I look at the tree, I see that the tree contains wisdom. It has its own hydraulic system built into it so that it lifts up nutrients from the ground all the way into the entire tree, into the limbs and into the twigs, and into the branches, into the fruits. So I can see wisdom that there's a wisdom in the tree, and then kulam b'chochma asita is that even all that you asa, even olam asiyah, all that is called the physical world is b'chochma, was already in chochma to begin with, but it was in potential. And then you used the process of creation to bring forth something that exists now and contain chochma within it, but that thing itself was contained within chochma. So I'm not trying to mix you up. I'm trying to tell you the beauty of tachlit. And techelet is the reason we do techelet, is that as the Ramban says, and also Shabbat is tachlit ma'aseh bereshit, is the purpose for which the world was made is Shabbat. So techelet is that when we look at the blue threads, the rabbis say in the Gemara that we're supposed to think of the sea, which is blue, and that's going to remind us of the firmament, of the sky, which is blue, and that's going to remind us of the throne of glory, because it says in the Torah that the throne of glory, Hashem's kisei, is made of sapphire. It's not literal, and sapphire is blue. We're getting out of the realm of literal here, because it's really moving from techelet to tachlit. The whole reason that techelet is called is that I'm thinking of techelet while I'm saying Kriyat Shema, is that I'm going to use it to get back to that which is the whole purpose for which I'm doing this, whatever, something like that. Okay, hello, where are we holding? I have these pages here, and there are some of you who came in later, so I'm going to give all of them except one. And we're going to look at these amazing pages. So, anybody on this side doesn't have? Here's, okay, well, let's try this. And see what happens. It's the beginnings from inner space. Yeah, but I'm going to do a terrible thing. I'm going to go to page 2 first. I'm absolutely uncontrollable in these areas. Hashem, I'm relying on you totally to help me with this. This is amazing stuff. So again, what we've been talking about till now is the process of creation is this amazing diminution, hitma'atut, tailoring of Hashem's light, which is so huge that you have to do it through thousands of stages in order to get to the point where you get to the bigger stars, and then more to the stars, which is the biggest physical entities we know, and then within the physical universe to come down to the level of the sun, and then to have an earth that's cool enough to support physical existence that we know it. So there's a lot of stages. So what we're going to see now in this is a quote, and I made the Hebrew very big on page 2 of your sets. I made the Hebrew extremely big so that that is what's going to take our attention. The English is just there to help you, but I'm going to do the Hebrew with you. And it's going to do a really nice thing. And I think the whole thing is worth it because of this. And please, God, it should work, and we should all get what we need from this. It's called the Azharot at the beginning of Etz Chaim. There's a few pages at the beginning of the Etz Chaim, which is the main work of Reb Chaim Vital, who's bringing the Torah of his master, the Ari, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria Ashkenazi, Alav Shalom. We've spoke about him a little bit. We're always willing to speak more. The Ari is a major figure in the transmission of Sod. He didn't make it up. He received it. So one of the things that's being said there is on this subject called Adam Kadmon. I hope that we can get it. In Hebrew, Adam Kadmon. Umimenu nishtalshel olam hanikra ozen chotem peh. From Adam Kadmon, the lights that emanate from the ears, the nose, and the mouth of Adam Kadmon are contractions of the inner light of Adam Kadmon. The reason that the image of a body is used, as we said, is nothing to do with a body. It's the image. It's the teaching behind it. Is that Hashem, even by the time of Adam Kadmon, by the level of he has arrived at in the creation process, going towards a world where you and I will exist. In Adam Kadmon, the light is so beyond. It's not. We don't even understand. So the light has to come out of Adam Kadmon's eyes, ears, and nose. Interesting, you have doctors that are of that, right? Or eyes, nose, and throat, or whatever, ears, nose, and whatever it is. And so the light that comes out is already greatly reduced. So the light that comes out of the ears is the first one. The light that comes out of the nose is the second one. The light comes out of the mouth is the third one. That's what we're talking about now. The light that's coming out of the eyes is going to be the last, and it's a whole story.
Can I ask a question before we...
You certainly can. I hope that...
Do we yet at this stage have any spirit, or is that all yet to come?
That's a good question. It's I'm not going to answer it. Believe me, I will, in its right time. But it's a subtle question, maybe more than you realize. But it's an important question. But it would just at this point it would take me off. So the idea of lights coming forth from ears, coming forth from nose, coming forth from mouth, in order to diminish their power of what they are on the inside level of Adam Kadmon. They are contractions of the inner light of Adam Kadmon. In Hebrew, umehem mishtalshel olam ha'akudim. In English, the lights of the mouth are the source for Olam Ha'akudim, the world of bounded lights, i.e., 10 lights in one vessel. You don't have to get involved with the terminology as much as the fact that Hashem is making it that there'll be the possibility of something lower each time. The contraction, or what we call what we said before, diminution, hitma'atut, lessening, diminishing of the light is very important here in order to be able to create a world where human beings can exist. So the purpose is very far away, and the process towards that purpose has that whole purpose in mind as it goes towards that purpose. So to lessen the light till we get to the Garden of Eden is already thousands of levels distant from the source, and the Garden of Eden is not even a physical place. It's an energy place where you have what's called trees and human beings, but we're only using the words as borrowed terms, because the trees of the Garden of Eden, the water of Garden of Eden, the fruits of Garden of Eden, the people in Garden of Eden are not what we would call human. We haven't come anywhere near the level of human physicality yet. That's how high Gan Eden is, and that's already thousands of steps down from the top. So I'm going to say it maybe over and over again, but what will come out of this is that the appreciation for the trouble that the Ein Sof went to make this world. And what I want to give you in these 2 pages is where it's all going to go. It's going to come down like this through many stages, and it's going to start going back up. And so let's see if we can get it. Olam HaAkudim is called the world of bounded lights, because the word akud by Akedat Yitzhak is the binding of Isaac. And so in chapter 10 of Inner Space, he talks about it. All kinds of things have to be said here, but simply the world of bounded lights, meaning to say that they're called, there's not a concept of vessel yet to contain lights. It's called a single vessel that contains 10 lights. We're going to go in a moment towards the possibility of 10 lights in 10 vessels, but that itself is going to be another contraction. The Malchut of Adam Kadmon is the source for the highest aspect of Atzilut, called Resha Delot Yada, the unknowable mind. From this, Olam HaNekudim, the world of the dots, or the world of separate entities, emerged. So there's quite a bit of information. Let me just read the Hebrew. Adam Kadmon umimenu nishtalshel olam hanikra ozin chotem pei, umehem mishtalshel means unfolds, devolves from the top down. Mishtalshel olam ha'akudim, umalchut Adam Kadmon haniskar le'el, nikra resha delot yada, umehaniskar le'el mishtalshel olam hanikudim. So, again, just to wrap up, here I give a little wrap up myself. Akudim, the world of bounded lights, is immeasurably higher and more unified. Always the higher you go, the more unified you are. The lower down you go, the more possibility of breakdown of unity and of the possibility of individuality. We're going towards that. So the higher one is immeasurably higher and more unified than Nikudim, the world of separate entities. This transition from the level of unity that exists above in Akudim to the level of separation that exists below in Nikudim is a major transition. The purpose of this transition was to create a lower dimension wherein humans could exist as free agents with free will and free choice. So that's always going to be the symphony that's being played here, the specific melody at any one point. The words are going to change, but Hashem is making a world where there can be hidden enough, his light can be hidden enough, his presence can be hidden enough, that he's everywhere and yet we don't see him. That's how we started the class tonight of what Tzimtzum is all about. Sit with this for a second and let's breathe it in. Just breathe. Because we also have our eyes and our ears and our nose and our mouth, and there are lights coming in usually, and maybe some stuff coming out. It's a whole strange thing to be told that lights come out of one's ears. This is like nothing compared to the detail that you'll find in some other places. This is just what's called the azharot, the warnings. Why it's called is there are basic things here that if you get this one paragraph, you're going to get an encapsulated idea that's going to help you understand a lot of other stuff. So it's worth going through these warnings because they give you a guiding map to move through the system of the Ari that he has revealed here. Speech, for instance, if you go to page 1, in the second paragraph on page 1 starts, in terms of God's primeval, meaning to say very early desire to create man, there are also various levels of interaction that are seen as precursors of the Sfirot in the Parzufim of Atzilut. They come before what we call the Sfirot of Atzilut, part of the answer to you, Abraham. These are referred to metaphorically as Adam Kadmon's eyes, ears, nose, and throat, meaning to say mouth. These senses constitute a step-down system of windows or lenses that diminishes the light of Ein Sof as it flows through Adam Kadmon into the lower universes. They represent the creation of 4 primary modes of interaction: seeing, hearing, smelling, and speaking, that parallel the 4 letters of Hashem's name, Yud Ke Vav Ke, and which will be revealed at a lower level as the Sfirot in Parzufim of Atzilut. Thus, Adam Kadmon's eyes are related to the Yud and to Chochmah. The ears are related to the first Hey of Hashem's name, and to Bina, Ima, mother. The nose is related to the Vav, the original 6 Sfirot of Zeir Anpin. The mouth is related to the final Hey, to Malchut. Rabbi Kaplan did some wonderful work here with the people that he was teaching. And at this point, they understood more or less what he was saying, but they are also left, just as lost as you were. They were a group of psychologists who came and said to him, we want to know how the Kabbalah can be applied to our work with people. So he, as a physicist, tried to make that bridge of how do you get this stuff to be understandable in a person's life. So very often he'd start with the ideas, the abstract concepts, and he'd get down by the end of the chapter to something much more. And that was his way of trying to come down from Adam Kadmon to Asiya, right? And that's why it's an amazing book, because it's really Aryeh Kaplan speaking and interacting and relating to the questions that are being asked him, and not just a book that he's writing about somebody else's ideas. These are his internalization and integration of these ideas in a way that he could give them over and help others get them also. So that's why the book is very unique. Then he goes into separately seeing, hearing, smelling, and speaking. And he says that basically when Hashem is creating the concept of seeing, Hashem is creating the concept of hearing in these senses of Adam Kadmon. So that when it says in the Torah that Hashem saw the light that it is good, the bottom paragraph of page 1, looking at another saying, the Torah writes, God said, there shall be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good. In this instance as well, we see God literally speaking the physical universe into existence. On a deeper level, however, we are being told that when God speaks, he is creating the concept of speech. When God sees, hears, or smells, he's creating the concepts of seeing, hearing, and smelling. Again, it's totally like, we know what you're talking about, but we're getting the idea that something here that the Torah speaks in human terms, but doesn't mean human terms. He's giving us an insight into how the Torah talks, that the Torah is talking at a very much more higher level than most people are aware. It's using terms that are familiar to us. So he said, oh, it must mean that God said. And that's when we're 5 years old. Oh, God said. God spoke the world into existence. When we get to be a little bit older and we learn a little bit more, our ability to understand becomes more sensitive and more adin, more subtle. It's using physical words for spiritual ideas. And then you can even look at the cloud of glory that followed us, that we followed in the desert. It was an anan hakavod, or anane kavod, and an anan, and there was an esh. And we think of an esh as a fire, and we think of an anan as a cloud. But it would be more proper to think of them as electromagnetic force fields, as angelic spiritual entities that Hashem created to lead us through the desert and to protect us wherever we were. But it uses the word anan, so we think, oh, it's a cloud. It uses the word esh, so it means fire. And so all through the Torah, what the Kabbalah does is it sensitizes you to be able to see multidimensionality, even when the words seem to be only physical. You hear? Yes.
Just an observation. You seem to be saying that it's very often said, that speech is a mashal for what Hashem is doing when he speaks the word of existence. With his eyes and with his ears, he hears, he sees, and so on. Really, what you're saying is mamish is the other way around. And when I see, when I hear, when I speak, it's a mashal for what Hashem did.
Well, both of these ideas are brought in the Kabbalah. One is that we see with our eyes, and when it says that God sees, it's using physical terms to describe something that we call seeing. The other one is that he's the one who really sees. He's the one with real eyes, and our eyes are borrowed eyes, and our seeing is borrowed seeing. Whatever, they're both considered. The Shlah brings both of them. Yeah, the Rav Yeshayahu Horowitz, the Shnei Luchot HaBrit. Okay, beautiful. I want to go back to page 2. With Hashem's help, I hope this will be meaningful to you. At first, it may not be, but it's a one-time through. And with these things, the more you go through them, the more you try and sleep on them and then come back to them. And especially since it's only 2 pages. So I'm challenging you that this page should not be put on your shelf and left there for the next 55 years until you look at it again. Okay. So the second Hebrew line starts with the word hine. And of course it has, I didn't open up the Rashi Tevot, I will do that now. Hine, behold. Achaf, which is the initials of Ozen Chotem Peh, of ears, nose, and mouth. These levels that we spoke about above, Mifurash Be'etz Chaim, Reish Shar Achaf, in the gate called Ozen Chotem Peh, and the gate of ear, nose, and mouth. Shu rak l'saber ta'ozen, it's only to sensitize by using, what I'm just saying now, sensitize us to spiritual realities, even though we're using physical terms. But once we can do that, then we know that even though we're speaking in physical terms, we're speaking of spiritual realities. Really, Judaism is a very interesting system in this sense, that we can speak about Moshe Rabbeinu in Egypt and the Jewish people, and Moshe gets this thing from Hashem at the burning bush to go down to the children of Israel in Egypt and to go in front of Paro and to do the plagues and the whole thing and to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt. And we see it as a story, and it's a powerful story. But we don't understand sometimes that it's really the story of our souls, that we come from Shamayim and we came down into this world, which is called Egypt. And Paro is a force that tries to convince us that there is only this world. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the force of consciousness, of God consciousness within each one of us that can awaken, even though it's born in Egypt, but it awakens to its own identity, and it goes and it leaves Egypt to the burning bush, and it comes as an incredible prophetic experience. I do it on my body. He's born in Egypt. He goes out to the desert. He goes up to Mount Sinai. Hashem says to him there, take off your body. I am going to energize you and completely transform you. Now put on your body again. Come back into yourself, and now go back down into Egypt and bring the children of Israel out. And he argued with Hashem for 7 days. Ain't going back there. Not me. Get somebody else to do it. And Hashem said, no, I'm going to have you do it because you're my man. Because you were born there and you understand. I put you through that whole thing on purpose, that you know how to walk into Paro's palace and not be intimidated because he's a king. because you grew up in that palace. The Jews who were slaves there for 210 years, they'd walk into that palace and just freak out and run out the second anybody moves. But you were there, you grew up in there. I made you grow up in the palace. I mean to say, you are an aspect of the highest level of soul that was born in Mitzrayim. So you know what it's like. So now I brought you up to the level of spiritual awakening that I want to bring you to. Now I'm telling you, precisely you go back, because you're going to free all the stuff that's there in yourself as an individual and in the people of Israel as a symbolic act of elevating all the sparks of creation that are caught in Egypt consciousness, in the matrix. So we're telling a story in terms of this drama that happened, but you have to know that the story is really a cover for an inner story. And it goes with Avram and Sarah, and it goes with Yitzhak and Rivka, and it goes with Esav and Amalek. All these are inner stories, right, that are being told within the framework of a drama of history. That's why they always say that the Torah is not a historical document. It has a little history in it, but it's never the main point of the story. It wants to give you over spiritual, I don't want to say knowledge, but whatever, for the moment. Right? So see here also, he's saying, according to Etz Chaim, the above mentioned levels of Adam Kadmon's ears, nose, and mouth are merely expressions that we are allowed to use to get some idea of the magnitude of those upper lights. This is based on the human physiognomy, I think it's called. I looked it up in the dictionary. Where hearing is a higher faculty than smelling. Smelling is a higher faculty than tasting. So just based on that, the same and why eyes are not being included here yet is that yes, there's a double aspect to eyes. There's a lower aspect that's lower than all three, and then there's a higher aspect also. And I want to talk more about it. But it's very important that for sure we're not leaving eyes out, just temporarily. But we're taking that idea from this thing that there's a hierarchy here. The same relationship applies between these three levels of lights that emerge from Adam Kadmon, just as the human ear, which corresponds to Bina, is considered higher than the nose, which corresponds to Tiferet, and the nose is higher than the mouth, which corresponds to Malchut. The same relationship exists between these same organs of Adam Kadmon, of course, on a totally different level of magnitude and completely devoid of any physicality. We're going on, because I don't want to keep you in suspense and never get to the end. Even if we don't understand everything on the way through, but we're going to get to a very important point. In Klach P.10, one of the books of the Ramchal wrote about that Adam Kadmon corresponds to the mode of eternal time, or the revelation of the eternal love of the emanator that will follow the epic of action. I'll read it in the Hebrew, and then I'll come back and explain the English. B'katav b'klach b'tche chochma, 138 portals of wisdom. She'adam kadmon, conceptually, hu ha'hanhaga shel hanitzchiyut. It is the mode of eternal time. She'achar zman ha'ma'aseh, that will kick in after we go through history as we know it. To be more exact, after we go through the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, and the 10th millennia, then we will enter full time into nitzchiyut, into total eternity. Certainly relative to us, we're in the 6,000 years of history. The 7th millennium will already be like way beyond anything we know. Time and space will all change. We'll come out of a small bubble into a much, much larger framework of reality. But nitzchiyut is a very important word here. Eternity. With a capital E, it should be. And then he says, ve'orot achaf, whereas the, I leave that for the, I repeated it twice, so let me just skip the one that's here and read the paragraph that's not indented. Close to the bottom, it says, relative to eternal time, the entire period of the first 6 millennia, together with the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, are all considered the epoch of action. It's all relative, because relative to where we are here, we're action, and then the seventh is like totally beyond. But relative to what he's calling officially nitzchiyut, eternity, which is what the Creator has in mind for us and wants to give us, or the emanator. That's interesting in Kabbalah, as opposed to Pshat, in Pshat Hashem it's called the Borei Olam. In Kabbalah he's called the Ma'asil HaElyon, the supernal emanator. It starts with an Aleph, besides, as opposed to Beit. And it's an Atzilutic as opposed to a Briatic, whatever. It's an inside term, and you'll only hear it from Mikubalim, called the Ma'asil HaElyon, the supernal emanator. So, next, Orot Achaf Hem HaHanaga Shel Shloshet Alafim Shiyu Achar Elef Hashvi. The Ramchal gives us an incredible insight into what would not be any relevance to us. What do I care about the ears, the nose, and the mouth of Adam Kadmon? It's like totally abstract. He says, no. Moving downward from the inner light of Adam Kadmon itself, the lights that emerge from the ears, the nose, and the mouth of Adam Kadmon correspond to the modes of providence that will become fully revealed only during the 3 millennia, the 10th, the 9th, and 8th respectively, the ears, the nose, and the mouth that will follow after the 7th millennium. Keep with me. One more page. Very, very, very important. We're talking about nitzchiyut, and then which is the level of Adam Kadmon itself, whatever that means. And that'll lead just Olamot Ein Sof. And then we're talking about there'll be a 10th, a 9th, and an 8th millennium. And I have sources to the fact that when we, at the end of the 6th millennium, already time itself will expand far beyond anything 1,000 years now to us. It won't be, the 7th millennium will not be the same as 1,000 years now. And certainly the 8th, it'll get bigger and bigger. Because the way Hashem made time also is that time was extremely, extremely beyond anything we can know. And as he came closer to a physical world, he made, and especially to Adam Rishon and Gan Eden, and then only time as we know it only started after Adam Rishon leaves Gan Eden. So we don't even know anything about the time that preceded us. But human time as we know it starts from Adam Rishon after he leaves Garden of Eden. And that lasts for a certain period of time. And then we go back and we start going back as we came from into eternal time. So the space and the time of this world is only started from after the Chet of Adam Rishon and will end with Mashiach. On both ends, it's much, much bigger. It's a difficult concept to get in there. I'm just giving you like what I understand about it, but I have sources to that effect, and if you want, I can send them to you. It's very interesting. Yes.
How does this correlate with also how the Ramchal talks about there will be the destruction of the world and then the 1,000 years of Shabbos?
Yeah,
So,
the destruction that the Chazal speak about, called Elef Chad Charuv, 1,000 years of destruction, is not the destruction of the world. It's the taking apart, it's the dissolution of the physical molecular structure of reality as we know it. It's not destruction at all. It's the freeing of the spiritual energy level that's within this world from the particular molecular structure that holds right now. It's not destruction at all.
So it doesn't like that's live for 1,000 years?
That's just a ma'avar, a transition. It's a good question, and it leads into a whole thing of what part the body will have how the resurrection works, and in the system of the Ramban, who received it from Rabbi Yitzhak Sagi Nahor, and who received it from his father. And there's a tradition we have about how resurrection works and how the resurrected body will be eternal. And it will be a soul, from what we can see now, will be an energy body, a light body, but it'll always be a body relative to the soul that it accompanies. I was telling this to David beforehand, that the body will exist forever in eternity. but it will not look like what we know to be a body. So 1,000 years of charuv, of desolation, or nothing as we know it. There are different ways to understand it. The Gemara says it in a very absolute way. The Mekubalim, from Rabbeinu Bachya onwards, who's a student of the Ramban, softens it a little bit. He says, Shabbos, every seventh day, is not a day of destruction. Hello, you can't say that the 6,000 years of life as we know it plus 1,000 years, and that the 1,000 years is called Shabbos, and tell me that it's destruction. It must mean that it's destruction of something that's preventing spirituality from manifesting completely. So it's a whole discussion. I hope I haven't completely.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. We're going to go on and finish the page. Look at this, the top of page 3. In other words, in terms of a single complete 10,000 year cycle, corresponding to a complete set of 10 sefirot, the first 6 millennia of history as we know it, from Adam's expulsion from Eden until the Messianic age, will be followed by greater and greater levels of revelation of godliness in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th millennium. Although the 8th, 9th, and 10th are completely beyond anything we can imagine, all of them are merely subsystems within the greater mode of Adam Kadmon. In truth, as we have seen, the higher modes of Ozen, Chotem, Peh, of ears, nose, and mouth, as well as the inner light of Ein Sof that is clothed in Adam Kadmon itself, are always operative behind the scenes. You can't get this on the first reading completely. It's too big, but it's huge. But it's beautiful. The only reason that any particular higher mode is hidden, and that it manifests solely through the filters of the modes that are below it, is in order to maintain the existence of a physical dimension in which mankind can function autonomously. The higher modes are all there. They never went anywhere else. They are. We said here in this picture here that only the lower part goes inside. The higher part is there. It's impossible to represent this adequately in a picture. Here's another possible one that I use all the time. That the little world that we live within is part of much greater and greater systems. Right? And I want you to make these for yourselves. That you know that they're the real way that Mikubalim think about this. Because you need something to be able to get it. But you know that not any one of them is enough to do it justice. But here, at least, you have the idea that we're in a little tiny bubble here that's eventually going to allow us to come up into the next greater system that we are part of, and then that and that and that and that. We await the great days when the higher modes will no longer be concealed and clothed within the lower modes. In the meantime, it is up to us to see through the filters and to know that they are merely subsystems of the great light of Ein Sof, as it is revealed through Adam Kadmon. You can go back to that one and really, the higher levels are always here. They are like the thing we said before. The higher level is here, and yet the lower level dresses up on it and dresses up on it and dresses up. Each one always going at a lower level. The higher level is always there. It's the context within which all the lower levels are taking place. It's a big story. But we can have access, even here in this world, through our Torah, to these awesome levels that are beyond us, and live connected to those higher levels. Right? That's the beauty of the system, is that you are not limited by the world that you live in. You can be an Abraham, a Sarah. You're beyond your time. You're beyond the way people think. You free yourself. Lech lecha me'artzecha, mimoladetecha, u'mibit avicha. Whereas we know that you don't leave your father's house and your birthplace and your land. You don't leave your land first and then your birthplace and then your father's house. You have to leave your father's house first and then your city and in your country. Well, how could the verse say, leave your country, leave your birthplace, and leave your father's house? Because it's psychological. Because the one that's hardest to leave is your father's house. The one that's less is the milieu that you grew up in, is the societal norms that you thought were normal. And the easiest one is the general one. So it speaks in terms of psychology. So I'm just trying to say that maybe it's the wrong thing to bring here, but just to finish the thought, that we can become completely connected to eternity. Each one of us. That's what Hashem wants. That's what the rabbis want. That's why they gave us brachot. That's why they gave us blessings and prayers to say and Torah to learn. Not to trap us in a system that's going to limit us and cut off our wings, but to free us from everything that's stopping us from knowing that we're part of Hashem's plan. Okay, we have to finish this page. Moving downwards, Olam HaAkudim, the world of bounded lights that preceded the breakdown into the world of separate entities, corresponds to the mode of providence that will be fully revealed during the 7th millennium. Moving further down, Olam HaNikudim, the world of separate entities, corresponds to the mode of providence that is revealed during the 6,000 years of this world as we know it. Again, although the higher modes are always fully operative and are the underlying basis of our reality, they are presently concealed and clothed in and only manifest through the filtration system of the 6,000 years called Olam HaNikudim. In review, we've just traced the hishtalshu, the downward flow of light from Adam Kadmon to the lights that emerge from Adam Kadmon's ears, nose, and mouth, to Olam HaKudim, the world of bounded lights, to Olam HaNikudim, the world of separate entities. But now we arrive at a major turning point, the ultimate turnabout. On our return trip back to Ein Sof, we start moving upwards in time, following the same map. So these are the words of the Ramchal. Since, however, Sof Maaseh b'machshava tchila, that which is last in deed, was already first in thought, and since each one of the above modes is a necessary preparation for the one following it, and since his true desire was for the final mode, the eternal time of Adam Kadmon, he therefore made its revelation dependent on all the lower modes that preceded it. In other words, the upward order of time, the return trip back to Ein Sof, is going to be an exact reversal of the downward unfolding of the above-mentioned providential modes. Specifically, Resh Delot Yada, the unknowable mind, is the top of Atzilut, is the transition from the mode of time, the 6,000 years of this world, to the mode of eternity, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, and beyond. Why I did this to you is the incredible circle, the closing of the circle. Right. The Hashem starts with only his light, and he wants to make a world where he wants to give us that light. But if he would give us the light as it is in Ein Sof, we don't exist. We couldn't even, there's no way to receive it. So he creates a world. He makes a world, and he says, I'm going to send you guys down there, and you're going to be in that world, and it's going to be hard for you. And it's going to be a long, tough thing. But in that world, you're going to see me in a way that you could never see me up here, because it's going to be clothed within thousands and thousands of events of your lives. And you're going to discover me inside of yourself and in the stories of your life and in the stories in your relationships. And then you're going to start to build back up to me. And you're going to bring all of creation with you. So there's no way to understand this in one shot. But I had to give it over in one shot. So please forgive me. The circle. Just remember the circle. We're going full circle. And the return trip is very joyous. Where are you going, Yosef? Okay. Mwah. You going to Argentina? No, you're going to see me in my house.
Yeah.
Come. Okay. Hashem imachem.
I had a question. I think you basically answered it, but I actually think it may be beneficial for the question you stated anyway, because it may be clarification. Really?
Totally.
So it's essentially like the theme soon was created. Okay, the theme soon created a pocket of paradox with an ultimate oneness, undisturbed oneness. And within that paradox, duality was made room for, and then that duality that was allowed to have room now within this oneness was transmitted through spheres. You used to call them like Olam Ein Sof, through an infinite or number of spheres. That whenever they channeled in a sense of like a spiral that went downward, like large to can you picture at least like
Large to small.
large to small, and through each sphere it allowed for more duality to take form,
More multiplicity, more
Right.
more, yeah.
differentiation,
Right,
like,
differentiation.
more individuality,
How?
until it reaches a point at the very bottom of the spiral where it's just like, I mean, I'd call it chaos, but you can also call it basically finished
Maximum
individuality,
maximum
form of
atomization,
physicality.
maximum breakdown of unity into maximum multiplicity.
In the form of physicality, which is encapsulated in the oneness, the infinite.
Which has the possibility of each one of those atoms experiencing the full light of Ein Sof, but at first it's a total contradiction. We have a bracha in the morning. We say Baruch Mekadesh Shemo Barabim. Blessed are you, the one who your name is sanctified among the many, precisely among the many, that you made a many, so that your oneness could be discovered in a whole different way than it could when the many was only in you in oneness. But now that there's many, and then you still reveal your oneness, that's something, and that yeah. So I love the way you're saying it. And you've written all this down? Beautiful, good. And so continue.
And then I was going to ask, what's the purpose of existence? If it's like we're reaching this point of chaos, we're going to return to oneness. Like, what's the point of this whole process? But then you said something, and the way it's all together, perhaps, is just that from this point, we're like at the downward spiral, like we're at the very end, like almost like the coil, and we're like there's, physical and the spiritual, and all chaos and individuality. And it's from that point, from that most downward point, we call the lowest point, from the most downward point, we are then creating like upper spheres. Again, you know how we said like there's large spheres and spirals seem to get smaller and smaller. So now from the lowest point, reverse that mindset. The lowest point is the largest spiral, and then it spirals and spirals until it reaches the top, which is the tiniest. So in essence, it creates like almost a tunnel. We're both ends, like there's the biggest. Okay, if you want to take it from up or down, it's the largest spiral spiraling down to like the end, which is form, physicality, chaos, and then from that little hook, there's like there can draw like another infinite spiral, which is our essence, and then we are transmitting that upwards until we reach oneness again, and it's like this ridiculous kind of crazy spiral. It's just like a tunnel going up and down until.
If you see some videos about toruses, a torus is a Torus, which is a circular system that goes up through the middle, comes back out to the top, and goes back around and comes back up. So there is a powerful moving system, and they say that the universe is a torus, and there's a whole bunch of people talking about this. So that could be helpful in terms of that when you reach maximum breakdown, not chaos, but maximum fracturization. That's the beginning of the return back up through the inside of the torus, right?
I'm thinking of it a little bit differently though.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I thought of it as, it's like, okay, I'm gonna just keep scribbling. So like in one way, like this is our existence and this is oneness, until it reaches individuality and chaos. And then, like, okay, pretend I didn't flip it, but this is also our essence as we reach back here. And it kind of like forms like a thing that looks like this. You know what I'm saying? Almost like an hourglass kind of figure.
It's an hourglass, it's a
like,
Jewish star, because it's going this way and this one's going that way, and they meet in the middle and they create a new reality.
Is that like what Gilgul is?
Gilgul, boy, you guys have tremendous questions. It's great. I love it. What you just said is another hour and a half of weekly shiurim for a year. You did great. I love it. God bless you. No, everything has to be thought out and talked about and digested. And that's good. That has, even though we want things immediately, and there are flashes of understanding, but as Einstein said about himself, where did I get what I got? I got it in a flash, and then I worked backwards to show there was a formula to get it. So we have moments of chokhmah, which are I understand, but then we have to work backwards in a lot of bina time, a lot of working it out. And that's what our Sforim are about. That's why the Ari wrote what he wrote. That's why the Reb Chal wrote what he wrote. That's why the Baal Shem Tov's teachings come to us. Each one can go to these teachings through the channel that he feels best in, but it all leads back to this incredible thing called Hashem. Hashem speaking to us, loving us, bringing us back to him. Now we're at a very important historical moment, right? We need a lot of strength to pass through this transition. Who are we? Why are these things happening to us? Why are is this being allowed to happen to us? And that the world, the European and the American system are feeding into something that's very dangerous for us. And where's the power that we have to make any difference? Not simple stuff. And so I'm asking all of us to know that when we do learn Torah, as well as when we daven, as well as when Tu B'Shvat comes, and then Purim comes, and then Pesach comes, that these are openings from Hashem to give down into us these higher lights, not just as ideas, but to empower us, to infuse us, to give us an idea of who we really are and what we need to do in this world. We need that so much right now. So I bless all of us that we can work together, come together on a higher level. Please, Hashem, help us in this. We want to be part of your plan to bring the whole world to you. Even though, what could we do? But with you helping us, because that's what you want to do as an Abba, as a father, and as our mother. You want us to be able to really do the work and not just lie down passively and say, we want Mashiach to come save us. We are Mashiach. It's not just waiting for Mashiach to be revealed. It's Mashiach is being revealed right now. As Shlomo said, see the world with mikvah eyes, with Shabbos eyes, with Mashiach eyes. See and know that Hashem's active in the world right now in a very awesome way. But the pain is like unbearable. Just one mother having that happen should shake all of us. A mother being killed. So that it has to come, even though I don't have an answer, but it has to, at least we have to mention her. And it should be that she should speak before Hashem, for her 6 children, for all of us. Hashem, this is a woman who was awesome. So I always thought about it that maximum, what I'm calling atomization, ATOM, atoms, tiny, right? Maximum atomization, maximum multiplicity that leads us far away from the one. At one point, it switches into its very opposite. It's so much multiplicity that it could not be anything but from oneness. Like when the world gets so complex and so many operations are going on at the same time, and we're aware of them, and the more we're aware of, the more that reality is impinging on our consciousness with more information. It has to lead to transition into oneness. That's a profound quantum, right? And that's how the rabbis are describing it. That one of my rabbis, Rav Bowman, said it would be like a geyser. It's being held down now, but when it finally, or a pressure cooker, when you take that top off, it's going to be like, whoa, a powerful quantum leap in consciousness for the whole planet. Right? And those of us who prepared for it to some extent, even for us, it'll be like beyond. But those who haven't prepared at all, they don't know what's going on. The sun will be taken out of its sheath, the Chazal say, which means that physically the ozone will deteriorate and we won't have any protection from lethal solar radiation. But spiritually, it's V'haya Hashem lamelech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu Hashem echad u'shmo echad. It's the very thing that we want, even though physically it seems like a destruction. It's the very revelation of the light that's been held back in order for a physical world to exist, wherein there could be free will and evil. And then when that's taken away, and that illusion is taken away, and that higher reality is revealed, it'll be like the last prophet, Malachi, described it, Yom Bo'er Ketanur, Hayom Hashem Hagadol V'Hanura, Bo'er Ketanur, a day that burns like a furnace. And yet it'll be Shemesh Umarpeh B'Chnafeha, it'll be a sun, S-U-N, with healing in its wings. So they said that the tzaddikim will be healed because it's what they wanted the whole time. And the Rishaim will be purified and painfully purified so that they start to get it also. There's no need for destruction here. There's no need, it's a Gemara in the Darim Daf Pei Chet Amud Beit 8b. But the point is that in many different places the Chazal are totally into this whole thing of when will the transition take place? How will it happen? How can we imagine it? What are the components of the transition that will bring us back to Gan Eden at a higher level than when we left it? That's what they were into. And when they spoke about physical things and physical realities and legislation for social laws, they had behind them, they had only the whole spiritual reality of the world that has to be lifted up. They were moral giants, right? And very often they got the bad rap that the Gemara makes them seem like they were just interested in like picayune things. It's not that at all. They were masters of the spirit. Anyway, I'll stop, but it was kind of a wind down in a sense, just to say these things. And Hashem should please help us to be able to learn these Torahs. Next week, I don't know what will be exactly, but we got this pages, more of Adam Kadmon, like a little bit more of the actual chapter 12 of Inner Space, to complete that, and then to go into Shvirat HaKilim, the shattering of the vessels, which is Olam HaNikudim. So there is a kind of a plan, but I leave it open each week as to how it's going to come out. So thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like saying Kaddish in a sense, even though maybe, is there a minion here? So if you wouldn't mind, שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר, יתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דיבר חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח פורקני, ויקרב משיחי, בחי יחון, וביום יחון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה, מברך לעולם, נעלמי עלמיה יתברך, וישתבח, ויתפאר, ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה, שירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידיהם ועל כל תלמידיהם דעסקין ואורייתא קדישתא דיברת הדן ודיברכתה ואתה. יהא לנו ולהון נכון, הנה בהסדה ורחמי, מן קודם מראה שמה עברה ואמרו אמן. שלמה רבה מן שמיה, חיים וסבא, וישועה ונחמה ושזבה, ורפואה וגאולה וסליחה וכפרה, ורווח והצלה לנו לכל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא ברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
אמן. שכוח רב.